Welcome to Future Trends, where we examine the latest stories reshaping tomorrow's international dynamics. This week's headlines: Madagascar's president leaves country after protests. What do we know about the Gaza peace deal? Former Sudan militia leader convicted for war crimes, African economies lead growth forecasts, and coral reefs crossing survival limit. Starting with politics, Argentina's Congress curbs Milei's decree powers. It's the latest setback for the right-wing libertarian president, whose party holds a minority in parliament and has issued more than 70 decrees since taking office in December 2023 to advance his austerity program. He faces midterm elections on October 26th. His La Libertad Avanza party was defeated by the center-left in Buenos Aires provincial polls, seen as a bellwether of his support. Madagascar's president leaves country after protests. President Rajoelina has fled as the African nation became the latest to feel the impact of young protesters amid rising Gen Z unrest. Rajoelina said he had to move to a safe location to protect his own life but was refusing to resign after reports that units of the army had defected and joined the protesters. Former Sudan militia leader convicted for war crimes. The International Criminal Court has convicted Ali Mohammed Ali Abdul Rahman, a leader of the Janjaweed militia, for his role in mass atrocities committed in Darfur over 20 years ago. This is the first time the ICC has convicted anyone for crimes in Darfur, where, according to the UN, 300,000 people were killed and 2.5 million displaced in the 2000s. The court found Abdul Rahman guilty on 27 charges, including ordering mass executions and gang rapes as part of the Sudanese government's campaign to crush a rebellion by non-Arab tribes. Peru's President Boluarte ousted. Peru's Congress removed Boluarte over corruption and abuse allegations, swearing in 38-year-old Congress chief José Jerry as her successor. Peru's seventh president since 2016, Jerry pledged a war on crime as Boluarte, accused of illicit enrichment and linked to deadly protest crackdowns, became the latest casualty in Peru's turbulent political cycle. Ecuador protests after fuel subsidies cut. Protesters both for and against Ecuador's President Noboa rallied in the capital Quito after the government declared a state of emergency in 10 provinces with large indigenous populations. Weeks of anti-government demonstrations, led by Ecuador's largest indigenous group, were in response to the removal of a fuel subsidy that raised diesel prices from $6.80 to $10.60 per litre. Moving to stories in conflict, what do we know about the Gaza peace deal? The 20-point Gaza peace plan was signed by US President Trump, Egyptian President el-Sisi, Qatar's Emir al-Thani, and Turkey's President Erdogan. It includes: we understand that lasting peace will be one in which both Palestinians and Israelis can prosper with their fundamental human rights protected, their security guaranteed, and their dignity upheld. We affirm that meaningful progress emerges through cooperation and sustained dialogue, and that strengthening bonds among nations and peoples serves the enduring interests of regional and global peace and stability. Ethiopia accuses Eritrea of preparing for war as Red Sea tensions rise. In the latest sign of escalating tensions between the two neighbors over control of the Red Sea, Ethiopia's accusation is contained in a letter sent to UN Chief Guterres, warning Eritrea is colluding with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, an opposition group as part of its preparation for conflict. Germany to allow police to shoot down drones. It follows drone attacks that have disrupted airports across Europe and that some European leaders have attributed to a hybrid war being waged by Russia. The new law, awaiting parliamentary approval, explicitly authorizes the police to down drones violating Germany's airspace, including shooting them down in cases of acute threat or serious harm. Other techniques available to down drones include using lasers or jamming signals to sever control and navigation links. UN reduces global peacekeeping force by 25% amid funding cuts. It will impact up to 14,000 military and police personnel out of more than 50,000 peacekeepers deployed across 9 global missions, including Congo, the Central African Republic, South Sudan, Lebanon, Cyprus and Kosovo. The UN plans to reduce the peacekeeping forces budget by approximately 15% for this year in the wake of a reduction in US funding reductions. Pakistan closes border with Afghanistan after dozens killed. Islamabad regularly accuses the Taliban administration of harboring militants who attack Pakistan, a charge Afghan officials deny. Afghanistan's Taliban forces launched attacks on Pakistani troops along their shared border in what it called retaliation for airstrikes carried out by the Pakistani army on Kabul. The two sides have repeatedly clashed in border regions since the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan in 2021, but airspace violations deep into Afghan territory would mark a significant escalation. Finland adopts an all-society model to build national defense. One of NATO's newest member states, Finland's all-encompassing policy involves the public and private sectors, households and the military. The concept of spreading the responsibility for defense across all levels of society is designed to deliver the best possible chance for the vital functions of the state to function in the face of extreme adversity. Moving to economics, China tightens exports of rare earths and tech. Exports of technologies related to the extraction of rare earths, the manufacturing of magnets, and the recycling of the minerals will be banned unless permitted by the government, adding to what has been a major sticking point in recent trade negotiations between China and the US. Military uses won't generally be approved, while exports of some rare earth items used in semiconductors research and development will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, China's Ministry of Commerce said. India and Britain work on closer trade ties. Prime Minister Starmer led the UK's largest ever trade delegation to India, flying with 125 business chiefs to Mumbai to sign investment-driving agreements. It marked a bid to boost Britain's stagnant economy and help both countries diversify away from the US. US Fed custody holdings ring de-dollarization alarm. US Treasuries held at the New York Fed on behalf of global central banks have slumped to their lowest in over a decade, casting renewed doubt on foreign appetite for US sovereign debt and other dollar-denominated assets. The value of US Treasuries held at the New York Fed on behalf of foreign central banks is $2.78 trillion, the lowest since August 2012, and down $130 billion in just 2 months. African economies lead growth forecasts. Sub-Saharan African economies are expected to grow by a faster 3.8% this year, driven by stabilizing foreign exchange and inflation rates, the World Bank said, including Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Côte d'Ivoire. And the World Trade Organization raised its 2025 global trade growth forecast from 0.9% to 2.4%, after an unexpectedly strong first half due to rising AI-related purchases, front-loaded imports in the US over tariff fears, and robust developing world trade. Netherlands cracks down on China-owned chip firm over security risk. The Dutch government said it had taken the highly exceptional decision to intervene at Chinese-owned chip maker Nexperia over a potential risk to Dutch and European economic security. Now for news in development. $4.2 billion for green projects in Africa. The Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, founded in 2021 by the Rockefeller Foundation, IKEA Foundation, and Bezos Earth Fund, works with public and private partners to finance projects across the continent, such as scaling interconnected solar mini-grids in Nigeria and offering renewable energy training to former coal miners in South Africa. The organization said energy access in Africa was hindered by high financing costs driven by perceived risks and limited affordable capital, as well as fragmented energy infrastructure. Global life expectancy returns to pre-pandemic levels. COVID-19 became the top cause of death, when the pandemic hit in 2020, dragging down life expectancy with it. People born in 2021 could expect to live to 71.7 on average, but by 2023, COVID-19 fell to the 20th leading cause of death, behind a handful of chronic illnesses, Alzheimer's disease, and neonatal disorders. Global life expectancy rebounded to 73.8 years. Chronic diseases now account for nearly two-thirds of death and illness worldwide, led by heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. More than 80% of health facilities in Eastern Congo out of medicine. The Red Cross says 80% of clinics in North and South Kivu, provinces affected by war, are operating without any external support. Many have no access to basic treatments for malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis, a direct result of ongoing conflict and collapsing humanitarian funding. Cash transfers giving women in rural Kenya a new life. Financial support given directly to the women in Kilifi County has cut both infant mortality and deaths among under fives, while boosting village businesses. Payments of up to $1,000 were sent to 10,500 households in more than 650 villages in Kenya. The financial support reshaped women's daily lives, cutting back on the time they spent working and allowing them to focus on the well-being of their newborns. 5 car makers on trial over emissions cheat claims. The trial at the High Court in London is the latest chapter of what has become known as the Dieselgate scandal, with the companies facing allegations they used illegal software to allow their cars to reduce emissions of harmful gases under test conditions. The 5 car makers, Mercedes, Ford, Peugeot/Citroën, Renault, and Nissan, all deny the accusations. Finally, our social news. Scientists find molecule that could stop Parkinson's. Researchers have designed a peptide that prevents the deadly misfolding of alpha-synuclein, the protein behind Parkinson's, and some dementias. In lab and animal tests, it stabilized the protein and improved motor function. The work demonstrates the power of rational drug design in tackling brain diseases that have long lacked effective treatments. Indian police arrest owner of cough syrup company linked to deaths. Sresan pharmaceutical manufacturer has been linked to the deaths of at least 17 children in the central state of Madhya Pradesh. The children, all aged under 5, died in the past month after consuming cough medicine containing toxic diethylene glycol in quantities nearly 500 times the permissible limit. Remains of 1,000-year-old man in Mexican cave reveal ancient microbiome. Now called the Zimapan man, his body was naturally mummified by the cave's condition in Zimapan, central Mexico. His intestinal tissue and preserved feces revealed a portrait of his microbiome, including the types of bacteria present. Studying ancient microbiomes using mummies and human remains can deepen understanding of ancient populations. World's coral reefs crossing survival limit. The world's tropical coral reefs have almost certainly crossed a point of no return as oceans warm beyond a level most can survive, a major scientific report by 160 scientists found. It is the first time scientists have declared that Earth has likely reached a so-called tipping point, a shift that could trigger large-scale and often permanent changes in the natural world. Already, at one point, 4 degrees Celsius of global warming, warm water coral reefs are crossing their thermal tipping point and experiencing unprecedented dieback. That's your Future Trends update for this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with more stories reshaping our world.